Colleagues, welcome to our side event. Can I ask everyone to take a seat? And please don't be shy. Come and sit up front. We're very friendly. So, colleagues, since we have everyone here, I believe all the panelists are here as well. Let's start. A very warm welcome to each and every one of you. As I said, please do find a seat and come and sit close to us. This is a very friendly gathering, and we're hoping to have, very warm, informal exchanges on a very important topic. So I did want to say that I think this side event is very, very timely because it's taking place during the 19th session of the UN Forum on Forests. And our side event is on the very important topic of forests for sustainable land restoration. This is one of the first events taking place globally, if I can put it like that, on an international scale, in an international forum, in the run-up to the 16th session of the UNCCD Conference of Parties, which, as you know, is being convened in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia from the 2nd to the 13th of December this year. Colleagues, I'm going to ask all of you to please take your seats, just so that all of us can, hear what is going on from the podium. And I promise you we have a very, very interesting lineup. It'll be totally worth your while to sit down, come close to us, and just tune in to this side event. Today's side event is co-hosted by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification. I just want to say very briefly that COP16 will be a very historic opportunity for the international community. It gives us an opportunity to pause and to focus our attention on that crucial finite resource, land. We walk on it every day. It feeds us, it clothes us, it shelters us. It sustains our economies, our lives, and livelihoods. And yet, as the UN Secretary General recently put it, we treat land like dirt. Land, especially fertile arable land, takes centuries to build up, but can be washed away overnight by a unseasonal flood or degraded through unsustainable use. And in fact, we are degrading 100 million hectares of productive land every year. Droughts are also hitting every region of the world harder and longer. Can we turn back these alarming trends? Absolutely yes. A lot of work is going on in many fora, that includes the UNFF and the UNCCD, to promote sustainable land and forest management. But as we begin our deliberations today, I just want to stress, we can't tackle climate today, biodiversity loss tomorrow, and then think that we'll tackle land degradation and drought, after that, sometime when it's convenient for us. These issues are closely interlinked. Indeed, healthy land is at the heart of these and other SDGs. And COP16, which also coincides with the 30th anniversary of the UNCCD, will be a landmark event. And we have very high expectations about the paradigm shift it will bring about in how the international community tackles land degradation and drought. In case you're wondering who I am and why I'm talking, I'm Dr. Nandini Krishna, and I'm in charge of the UNCCD CBD Liaison Office, and I will be moderating the event today. I would like to start by inviting His Excellency, the Permanent Representative of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to the United Nations, His Excellency Dr. Abdul Aziz bin Mohammed Al Basel, to formally open our event and deliver welcoming remarks. Over to you, Ambassador.
Thank you very much, Dr. Krishna. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor to welcome you to this side event on forest for sustainable land restoration, way to COP16 of the UNCCD in Saudi Arabia, and we are very delighted to host this side event on the margins of this important forum. Forests are one of the largest territorial natural resources and that have consistently retained overall land coverage over the past many decades, despite the loss of 420 million hectares of forest since 1990. It has been estimated that about 100 million hectares are getting degraded every year. The problem of land degradation is even more severe in arid and hyper-arid areas, which extended over 40% of the total land area of the planet. As our planet faces unprecedented environmental challenges, forest and land restoration emerge as a critical strategies in our collective efforts to safeguard biodiversity, mitigate climate change, and promote sustainable development. Forests, as invaluable carbon sinks and habitats for countless species, are essential for maintaining ecological balance and supporting human well-being. As threats such as deforestation, forest and land degradation and desertification continue to take place, there is the largest needed to amplify our collective work to significantly address contributions to the ongoing loss of biodiversity, carbon emissions, and unsustainable livelihood, amongst others. By restoring degraded forests and landscapes, we can reclaim vital habitat for wildlife, enhance ecosystem resilience, and mitigate the effects of climate change. Saudi Arabia has taken up the challenge of avoiding, restoring, and reversing the process of land degradation through the Saudi Green Initiative and the Middle East Green Initiative, which are expected to rehabilitate about 20 million hectares over several decades. We have also launched the G20 Global Land Initiative under our G20 presidency, which provides technical backstop to all land restoration projects, programs at the global level with the support of the UNCCD. In the view of unwavering support of Saudi Arabia to the global land agenda, we have been delegated the responsibility to host the 16th conference of the parties of the UNCCD in Riyadh in December. We hope that this COP will be successful in leveraging our collective efforts to combat desertification and land degradation, and an opportunity to showcase our global endeavors towards achieving the goals of the UNCCD. Finally, I look forward to hearing from our accomplished panelists on all of these important issues and wishing for a successful exchange of ideas. I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your insightful remarks, especially on the nexus between sustainable forest and land management, and also sharing with us the Saudi support for initiatives both nationally, regionally, and globally, which are going to have a huge impact on land restoration the world over. I also wanted to thank you for your unstinting support to the UNCCD and to say how excited we are that you will be hosting COP16. Excellency, I know that you have a very heavy agenda, and in case you need to leave, I just want to thank you on behalf of all the participants here. Colleagues, while the ambassador attends to his other commitments, and before we move on to the panel discussion, I would like all of you, I would like to invite all of you to watch a video on land degradation, desertification, and drought issues, which will also touch on the preparations for the UNCCD COP16.
would she speak softly to encourage our change? It may seem she has no voice, yet we need not hear what she has to say to understand her plea. We need only take the time to look, to truly see the mistreatment the earth has endured because of us. She wants nothing more than to provide, to nourish, and to heal. Yet we take and we harm the very essence of life we should hold so dear. Our land. Land is a fundamental pillar of life on Earth. It encompasses the habitats of plants and animals which affect our soils, our oceans, and our skies. The degradation of our lands impacts our water resources and the composition of our air. For too long, we took too little care of our soils and allowed our ever-growing populations of livestock to feed, surpassing the land's needs to recover and renew. The coffers of our lands have begun to run dry more rapidly than ever, turning areas which were once brimming with resources into deserts and wastelands. Environments that were once filled with wooded areas and rainforests are now vast, barren landscapes. But more than the land is affected by such changes. Land degradation amplifies climate change, since vast amounts of carbon stored in soil and vegetation cover are released due to land degradation. People are forced out of their homes, seeking out new lands as their resources have run scarce due to land degradation. Biodiversity itself is facing a direct threat as a great majority of life on Earth calls the forests their home. Every year, numerous plant and animal species are becoming extinct. We can no longer recuperate the sheer quantity of resources we have seized, nor can we restore the diverse species we have lost.
I am the land that gives as it takes. If you fed me flowers, I will bloom. If you fed me fire, your cloth will catch its sparks.
Our modern world is actively suffering the same fate at a pace such as man has never seen. Species evolve over time to resist illness and adapt to change. We cannot sit back and hope the land will simply thrive for us. It is imperative that the earth itself will thrive because of us.
I'd like to thank the Saudi team, the Saudi organizers, for that really very beautiful, almost visceral video, if I can put it like that, because I think it really very sharply, visually brought out something that we've been doing for centuries, which is literally to dam the land. You know, we draw on its resources, and then after the land has given us all its resources, as they put it in the film, the coffers run dry, we then abandon it, and then we move on. So, and I think this is an eloquent plea that, we should reconsider that phenomenon. Mankind has been taking land for granted for centuries. And I think COP16, to be hosted in Saudi Arabia, will actually provide that historic opportunity for us to make that, paradigm shift. Let us now move on to the panel discussion part of our program, and I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to our panelists and to introduce them. So let me first welcome Dr. Khaled Al-Abdul Khader. I hope it would be okay if I call you Dr. Khaled. Dr. Khaled is the CEO of the National Center for Vegetation Cover and Combating Desertification. The center was created to manage, protect, and develop rangelands, forests, and national parks in Saudi Arabia. It also tackles desertification and conservation of plant genetic resources and endangered plant species in Saudi Arabia. Dr. Khalid is an academic with expertise in agricultural and environmental sciences, and he has taught at several universities. In addition, he has also spearheaded many conservation efforts like the Mangrove Eco Park. Dr. Khalid, I would like to direct maybe some questions to you, and I must say that your very impressive credentials and work triggers many of my questions. So most of your research work has been on restoring degraded land. Can you share with us some of the greening initiatives in Saudi Arabia, which maybe you were personally involved in, which in your view have been really effective in restoring vegetation cover? I have a couple of other questions since we're going to give you 10 minutes. I also wanted to say that as His Excellency Ambassador Al-Bassel mentioned in his opening remarks, Saudi Arabia is very much at the forefront of land restoration and forest restoration initiatives, both nationally, regionally, and internationally. Can you share with us maybe some more information, some more details about these Saudi-led forestry initiatives, which have supported really the sustainable restoration of land? Are there any best practices from those initiatives that you would like to highlight, for the international community here at the UN, especially as we are on the road to COP16? And lastly, based on that, are there any recommendations, maybe just in a personal capacity, drawing on your vast experience, that you would like to share for us to keep in mind at COP16 on how we can best restore degraded land, but also forests? Over to you, Dr. Khalid.
Thank you very much, Dr. Krishna. I'm honored to be here, and I would like really to, in the beginning, to just shed some light about the environmental condition of Saudi Arabia. As you know, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is hyper-arid condition, but even though it has a big variety of and richness of and diversity of plants, more than 2,600 species of plants exist in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and a lot of them are natives, but also taking that in consideration, there is a lot of degradation that's happening on that terrain, especially in this hyper-arid environment, and the ecosystem is too fragile. Therefore, when you ask me about the effort and especially in the protection and rehabilitation of the ecosystems, in fact, there is a lot of efforts done by a lot of activists and also a lot of agencies in the kingdom for the last 30 or 40 years. But recently, really, what's happening is a new strategy for environment in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, where 5 specialist centers were developed, and one of them is the National Center for Vegetation Cover and Combating Desertification. And in this center, its domain is to protect forest. And when we say forest in Saudi Arabia, we consider every tree. So the forest from the mountain, which is around 1.5% of the kingdom area, and the forest in the coastal line of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in the Red Sea and the Arabian Gulf, which is a very long coastal line. In the Red Sea, around 2,000 kilometers, in the Gulf, around 600 kilometers, and dominated by a lot of salt marshes and mangrove ecosystems, which is a very important ecosystem, especially as a carbon sink. And also forests exist in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in the valleys of the kingdom. There is so many valleys, and also we're getting flashes of rain, as maybe you heard lately. And most of that rain, it comes from the mountain to a lot of valleys and drive for hundreds of kilometers. And in these valleys, the humidity and also the wet soil exists and fertile soil in these valleys. So a huge amount of trees in the kingdom exists in those valleys. And adding to that, the rangeland of the kingdom, which is a host for a lot of cattle in the kingdom. And this is almost contain around 70% of the kingdom area, and which very important, especially for food security, and also for a lot of environmental conditions such as sandstorms and others, where when you lose vegetation in these areas, vast majority of it, that could cause a lot of increase in temperature and also increase in sandstorms. Other than that, also we have the areas where we have the national parks in the kingdom, around 500 national parks in the kingdom, and in huge areas, and they are distributed around the kingdom from mountains to coastal region. And these also, they have strategies and plan to preserve the vegetation cover and biodiversity as all, and animal and others, and also allowing ecotourism in these national parks, and also the local communities to be engaged in these localities. All of these terrains, after the establishment of these specific centers, where a lot of initiatives and projects were directed for the rehabilitation and development of the environmental condition in the kingdom. So during the G20 in Saudi Arabia, the kingdom has released, and by the agreement with all the G20 countries, the land degradation initiative, and which is directed to halt land degradation and also habitat loss. And the target is to reduce the land degradation by 50% by 2040. And already the establishment of work with the UNCCD has already started with some projects around the world. And by the way, it is not only targeted the G20 countries, but also targeted all countries of the world. But the G20 are the volunteering to sponsor this initiative and support this initiative, and all around the world, in any country that exists and need the help. After that, the kingdom has released the SGI, the Saudi Green Initiative, so it's targeted to plant 10 billion trees in the kingdom and rehabilitate as an equivalent of 40 million hectares. And we study that initiative and how to accomplish that goal with some of the experts, local and international expertise, and some universities. And finally, we released the roadmap for that, which is divided to 3 stages. The first stage to 2030, and the second stage is by 2060, where the kingdom could reach its carbon targets, and then by 2100 is where the program can accomplish all goals. And after that, also the MGI was also released by the kingdom, and there is more than 22 countries already agreed about the MGI, which is the Middle East Green Initiative. So it is targeted to rehabilitate 200 million hectares and to plant 50 billion trees in the region. And there is a lot of really activities going on between the countries, and all the countries of the region are excited about this initiatives, and they would like really to put hand in hand with the kingdom to achieve that goal.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kader, for sharing with us the very important work being done nationally in Saudi Arabia. And I think what was really very impressive and very interesting is that, in as you said, a very fragile ecosystem, and in a situation where where a lot of the land experiences or can be categorized as hyper-arid, I think it's really impressive the kind of initiatives that you have put in place. I was really especially struck by the Saudi Green Initiative and the ambition to plant, I think you said, 10 billion trees and to restore almost 40 million hectares of land. And I think really the support that you're providing through the G20 for a global target to reduce land degradation by almost 50% by 2040 is again very, it's very inspiring, to hear these goals and the kind of support that you are putting into it, apart from supporting, the rollback, if you like, of land degradation in regionally as well as, for example, through the Middle East Green Initiative. So I really want to thank you for sharing with us some of these very, very inspiring initiatives. And I just wanted to say that very often in international fora, we are treated to a narrative of gloom and doom. We always have the statistics. Things are so bad. We have degraded all the land. Food security is in peril. Water security is in peril. The Earth, the planet is warming up at this unprecedented rate. And all of this is, of course, true, but it does fill us with a sense sometimes of hopelessness. So when I hear these positive stories, these positive experiences at the national level, I must say that I myself am filled with hope. I feel, no, there is hope. We can do it. We can roll back, these issues. So I really want to thank you for giving, holding out that kind of beacon of hope for us. So thank you so much. It is my privilege now to welcome His Excellency Zephyrin Maniratanga, Chair of the UN Forum of Forests, the 18th and 19th session, and also the permanent representative of Burundi to the United Nations. Ambassador Maniratanga has vast diplomatic experience, having been Chief of Protocol for many years in many different capacities. He has also headed his country's missions in India, Canada, and South Africa. And apart from a wealth of bilateral diplomatic experience, he also has tremendous multilateral experience with UN funds and programs, UN entities, and specialized agencies. His academic credentials are also very formidable, and they include, very specialized degrees in international relations, but also international environmental law. Excellency, we would be very interested to hear from you about the linkages between land degradation and deforestation. There are several studies which show that the demand for agricultural land often contributes to the clearing of forests and deforestation. And in that sense, land degradation is an important driver of deforestation, if I can put it like that. And, that many of the drivers of deforestation come from degraded, desertified lands, because once people find that their land is no longer arable, they go from the dry lands to searching for the forests to clear that and start more agricultural production. So how can we break that vicious cycle? And I also wanted to ask you, since you've spoken eloquently on numerous occasions, on the need to tackle forests, biodiversity, land degradation, and climate change in a holistic and integrated manner. So I wanted to ask you, can you share with us some of your suggestions on how we can do better on this? And lastly, what more can we do in the run-up to UNCCD COP16 to promote land restoration through forestry initiatives? Over to you, Ambassador.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Excellencies, distinguished delegate, ladies and gentlemen, I, as the chair of UNFF16, I would like, first of all, to congratulate the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the UNCCD for organizing this timely and important side event on forests and sustainable land restoration. The UN Strategic Plan for Forests and its global goals is the guiding framework for the United Nations and its member states, as well as relevant stakeholders, to promote the forests for sustainable land restoration and implement the sustainable management of all types of forests and trees outside forests throughout the world. The effort of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to restore lands by massive tree plantation through its South Green initiative is highly praiseworthy, which directly contributes to the target 1.1 of global forest goals to increase the global forest areas by 3%. For us, planting trees goes beyond restoring degraded lands. It's a job creation through labor-intensive green jobs. It is ensuring food and water security. It's building social safety nets. It's building stronger economies. Planting trees is also restoring ecosystems. It is good for the people, the planet, and for the prosperity. Land restoration is one of the main accelerators to achieve all sustainable development goals, as recently acknowledged by the UN General Assembly. The Kingdom has also demonstrated its strong leadership in building regional partnership in the Middle East by initiating the Middle East Green Initiative, aiming to plant 50 billion trees across the Middle East. The commitment of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has become obvious by hosting the 16th session of the Conference of Parties of UNCCD that will be held in Riyadh from 2nd to 13th December this year. Distinguished delegates, I'm glad to learn the partnership between the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the UNCCD to halt the land degradation and restore lands through its forest-based initiative, which is one of the key goals of United Nations Strategic Plan for Forests. In this respect, I urge the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, UNCCD, and other Rio conventions to work together and enhance cooperation and collaboration to accelerate the implementation of UNCPF and achieve the global forest goals in response to the eventual outcomes of UNFF16. Strategic partnership and collaboration among the Rio Conventions and the UNFF are vital for the achievement of global forest goals, land restoration neutrality, and the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030, which is just around the corner. To strengthen the regional partnership, I would also like to encourage the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to organize a country-led initiative to support the work of the forum before the UNCCD COP16 in Riyadh. The country-led initiative provides a great opportunity for UNFF member states to bring the matter of significant importance to forests to the attention of the forum and the international community. Finally, I would like to express my best wishes for the successful organization of 16th session of Conference of Parties of UNCCD, building on the outcome of UNFF19. I hope that the outcomes of the COP16 will pave the way in achieving the global goal of land degradation, neutrality, and sustainable land restoration. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Excellency, for your very insightful remarks, especially on the nexus between deforestation, land degradation, and how we can promote land restoration through forestry initiatives. I was especially struck by, and this is a comment that you made that is very dear to my heart, when you said that land restoration is an accelerator to achieve all the SDGs. And that is something that is very, dear to UNCCD. I know the UNGA has endorsed it, but we firmly believe that if you start greening the land and you start to restore it, it will contribute to a number of the SDGs, including, poverty eradication, food security, water security, climate, etc. I also noted, some of your recommendations in the run-up to COP16 especially, and I think we've made note of this, and this is something that we will work on, which is to accelerate cooperation and collaboration among the Rio Conventions, the UNFF, so that we accelerate implementation, as you put it, of the forest goals as a contribution to achieving LDN and land restoration. And I think you made those points very eloquently, that we shouldn't see all these goals in silos. We need to see that these are closely interlinked, and we need to collaborate, because if we advance on one goal, we're advancing on the other. So I really thank you, Ambassador, for those very insightful remarks, and also your recommendations on what more we can do to get the most out of COP16. So I thank you again. It is now my privilege to welcome, if I may call you, Dr. Margot Busco-Briggs, Senior Forestry Officer of the Food and Agriculture Organization. Dr. Briggs is an expert in forestry. She has vast experience at the national level, where she worked for the General Directorate of State Forests in Poland. She also has a lot of experience with multilateral environmental processes like the CBD, climate change, as well as the UNFF. She has been with FAO since 2011, and she currently serves as the secretary of the FAO Committee on Forestry, and she leads FAO work on forest policy. Her academic credentials include degrees in biology, forestry, and environmental economics. Dr. Briggs, given your vast experience both nationally and multilaterally, I wanted to ask you about these different forest landscape restoration initiatives, some of which other panelists have spoken about today, like the Middle East Green Initiative, the Bond Challenge, the African Green Wall. So many of these initiatives have started to sort of create a movement, if I can call it like that, for land restoration on a large scale. Can you share with us your own experience with any of these initiatives, and what FAO is doing to support countries in making progress in some of these commitments and initiatives? And I am so tempted, after looking at your CV and your vast experience, I also wanted to ask you whether you could share any best practices that you have come across in the FAO while working on land restoration, soil issues, soil health issues, and if you have any recommendations for further collaboration in the run-up to COP16, UNCCD COP16. Over to you, Dr. Briggs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Krishna. There was a lot of questions. I'll try to do my best to respond. Excellency, distinguished delegates, it is my great pleasure to be here today with you. And first, allow me to thank to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for inviting FAO to be part of this important event. Thank you very much. I'd like to focus maybe on 4 main points. I tried to take note of the questions proposed to me by Dr. Krishna. Maybe I'd like to start with one key message, which I think resonates very, very well with what was already said about our roadmap and the way towards COP16 and what we can do better. I think my message 1 would be, to achieve land degradation neutrality, we need to work together to simultaneously promote advances of trees and forests to climate, biodiversity, food, and water scarcity. This was already mentioned by Your Excellency and other speakers, and I think we would sign up to this. It really resonates very well with FIO. We need to look at those challenges together, not in isolation. Drylands covering 41% of the Earth's surface are home to 2 billion people. Those lands face severe degradation, but they also impact food security and livelihoods. And those collaborative efforts and working at different scales and at different levels are essential to improve integrated land management and forest and landscape restoration at large. My second point would be to respond to what you have said, what FAO is doing to help to achieve those goals and those objectives. Well, FIO collaborates with dryland countries to develop solutions for food security and sustainable natural resources management under the changing climate. Over 75 years of FAO partnership with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has resulted in initiatives focusing on forest, agriculture, and water management. The initiatives like Saudi Arabia's Green Initiative and the Middle East Green Initiative align very well with FAO's goals, emphasizing integrated approaches such as agroforestry for sustainable development and addressing all these challenges at once. FIO leads the movement to integrate sustainable pastoralism, forestry, and agriculture practices as means to restore degraded land. We really believe in the movement of integrated silvopastoralism, and for us in FIO, key advisory mechanism to help dryland countries to upscale sustainable dryland management and restoration is Intergovernmental Working Group on Dryland Forest and Agro-Silvopastoral Systems under the FAO Committee on Forestry. This working group, which is a global working group, it includes currently 89 countries from all regions of the world, reviews status and trends and developments in drylands, forest, and agro-silvopastoral systems, and makes global recommendations on those matters. The last session was held in Amman in September last year and provided very important input on these reviews. The next session will be hosted by Mongolia in 2025. So we do believe that the movement of integrated sustainable pastoralism is one of the mechanisms that could help us tackling all of those challenges, I guess, at once. So I want to also promote FAO's initiative called Grazing with Trees. I have with me one copy of this publication, but you can download it online. And FAO initiative Grazing with Trees integrates pastoralism and forestry, showcasing evidence and different successful cases of the multifunctionality as well as the economics of traditional and modern silvopastoral systems. I will not go into details of that, but I'll be happy to network with the delegates later on if someone is interested to join this work, which we think it's a very important work. Let me just move on to overall restoration. As many delegates in the room may know, FAO co-leads together with UNEP the United Nations Decade on Ecosystem Restoration, with UNCCD as well as CBD and UNFCCC as key collaborators. We lead work on collecting and disseminating best practices. We share knowledge. We look at potential practices for scaling up restoration actions on the ground. And we also work on monitoring progress in ecosystem restoration under the recently established Framework for Ecosystem Restoration Monitoring firm, including our work also on the indicator 2.2 of the GBF, the Global Biodiversity Framework, area under restoration of Target 2. Lastly, if I may, it's my final point, looking beyond the drylands and maybe zooming into mangrove forests, which play another crucial role in forest-based resilience and adaptive capacity. Preservation of mangroves and other coastal ecosystems is vital for coastal communities' resilience and livelihoods, particularly in dryland countries. FAO's Global Mangrove Study, which was published last year, estimated the total area of mangroves is around 15 million hectares, and these are the data from 2020. South and Southeastern Asia accounted for nearly 44% of this figure. Yet there is a decline that was also noted of around 300 hectares in mangrove area globally between 2000 and 2020. FAO is currently working also on updated information on the status on mangroves, and we expect to publish the new available study in 2025, so that is next year. Mangrove significance is particularly pronounced in dryland countries, and we see a great opportunity for countries like Saudi Arabia to provide exemplary leadership in mangroves protection, restoration, and sustainable use in dryland conditions. So in conclusion, our collaboration holds the key to unlocking the potentials of drylands and mangroves and securing livelihoods at the same time. We're looking forward to working very closely with Saudi Arabia at technical and programmatic level, as well as through various events. For example, our joint event, which we are planning for the Committee on Forestry in July in FAO headquarters in Rome, at the International Day for the Conservation of Mangrove Ecosystems, as well as towards the UNCCD COP16 to be held in December. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Briggs, for sharing that very valuable overview of the work being done by FAO, both nationally, regionally, and at the global level to support land and forest restoration. I also wanted to thank you for bringing in some dimensions that, to this panel discussion, especially the work on pastoralism and on mangrove conservation, and also bringing to our attention some of the FAO publications, which I think we should mark on our essential reading list on the road to COP16. So I thank you for that. It is now my pleasure to welcome Mr. Minoru Takada, Deputy Director of the United Nations Forum on Forests of the Secretariat. Dr. Takada has a really fascinating CV. He originally trained to be a nuclear engineer, and then he spent the early part of his working life as a community organizer and a secondary school teacher in a remote village without electricity in Ghana for a few years in the early 60s. In a very inspiring trajectory, this early experience changed his career path and his life, I think, and he became an expert on sustainable energy. So he has been senior policy advisor on energy at the SG's office. He has headed the sustainable energy program at UNDP, and currently he's the head of UN Energy and also the team leader on energy in DESA, that's the Department of Economic and Social Affairs. So Mr. Takada, I wanted to ask you, the UNFF and the UNCCD secretariats have a history of working together as partners, and we recently even signed an MOU to identify and implement joint activities on sustainable land and forest management. I just wanted to say that my question is kind of indicative, so if you don't want to go into the details of the MOU, it's fine. But we would, I think, really appreciate hearing from you, what are the concrete areas in which we have potential to sort of jointly advance the goals of the sustainable forest management and land restoration. And I also wanted to touch on one of the objectives of the MOU, and as I said again, it's just an indicative question, but one of the objectives was to strengthen cooperation in the mobilization of financial resources for these tasks, and also to build strategic partnerships for implementation. So I wondered if you could share with us some of your observations on investment opportunities in sustainable forest and land management initiatives. Are there any commitments or initiatives being made at the international level that, in your view, stand out as a best practice? And lastly, of course, we would love to hear from you if you have any recommendations in the run-up to COP16. Thank you so much. Over to you.
No, thank you very much, Dr. Christina. I appreciate very much. And then our sincere appreciation on behalf of Director, Madame Juliette, the BIO, who unfortunately was not able to sort of join here. She's running around. I don't know where she is, by the way, but they're running around in the middle of negotiations. I also came from the negotiations table right now, so my apology that I came late, and I might have to step out, unfortunately, for the final rounds of the negotiations very soon.
But thank you very much for the commitment and the invitation by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, as well as on the CCC Secretariat for us to be able to join. You mentioned about corporations. Obviously, this is central issue here. In that, if you look at sort of broader scheme of things, sustainable development concept and practice evolved from the days of Agenda 21, the 1992. Here we are already the 30 years from now on. In the area of forests, we have a great cooperation among ourselves, obviously. Reason why we are swapping our sort of the seats here is that we're so close, you'll not be able to distinguish between what we're doing and, the colleagues from FAO. We're so closely working together. I cannot thank enough cooperation from the UN organization, particularly FAO and CCC Secretariat, CBD colleagues, UNFF16, and obviously Chair who is sitting here to guide us the direction of the Secretariat moving forward. So really, our wholehearted sort of thanks to everybody who is trying to put forest at the center of sustainable development agenda here. Now, if you look back here, right, SDGs were created back in 2015, and then now we passed the midpoint and moving forward to 2030. We have 6.5 years to go. Last year at the SDG Summit, there was a lot of reflections that happened. And then when it comes to SDG broadly, only 15% of SDGs are broadly on track, and the rest are struggling, if not going backward. Looking closer here to the forest, okay, of course, we have our goal called Global Forest Goals, which contribute broadly to the Sustainable Development Goals. Are we confident enough that we are making progress toward Global Forest Goals? I must confess, I am not. Internationally, we really have to step up. Let's look at the sort of situation here, right? Sort of, all the international, resources going into the forest sector is really small, less than 5%. Okay? Broadly, we are talking about billions of dollars. I think, FAO estimated we need minimum 200, 300, 400 billion dollars. 200 on an annual basis. But, remind ourselves, right? If you look at really the value and the services that forests provide to the world, to our development, to our livelihoods, estimate is in the order of trillions. It's over $100 trillion of services that we're getting from forests. So if you look at where we stand in terms of financing to support forests, support sustainable forest management, vis-a-vis what is needed, $200 billion on an annual basis, but then responding to the real services the forest is providing to us, which is in the order of 1,000 times larger than the investment is required immediately on that, the magnitude of the challenges that we have to tackle on those things. And then here at the UN Forum Forest, which is a universal platform for all the member states and all partners to come together to do one thing that we ask everybody to do, that please put forest at the center of the political agenda in your own setting. Because we do need a political visibility and commitment. We do need really every country to step up and collectively, if UNFF can actually help to bring collective visibility of the forest up higher, comparatively to other larger issues that we have been always used to be talking about, it's going to be a one step forward. Second, right? We all agreed to work on the global forest goals back in 2017 when UN Strategic Plan for Forests were agreed to, part of which is the 6 goals and 26 targets. Right? Now, we heard from the member states their commitments to that, and also all member states are encouraged to submit their commitment in the form of voluntary national contributions, showing their actions, showing their commitment toward GFGs. This is an opportunity. We have 6.5 years to go to achieve global forest goals. We encourage all governments who have not yet done so to formulate and submit and show your leadership in the form of voluntary national contributions toward global forest goals in your own setting. This is voluntary, so you have a way to bring things together. I know that this format is relatively open-minded format. It shouldn't be a big challenge for everybody to do it. So we really look forward to all countries coming together and bring things together moving forward. Forest is absolutely a topic that is interlinked to so many development goals. Obviously, this issue related to desertification is one of them. So we applaud the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the UNCCD Secretariat and the member states to hold very important 16th COP of the UNCCD. I think this again gives us an opportunity to highlight interlinkages between this desertification to so many areas of issues, including the forest. And forests, of course, occupy the home to the 85% of biodiversity. And of course, 3/4 of the water is held by, a forest. So this is such an important topic to desertification. We at the Secretariat look forward to contributing to the discussions in any way we can to support and highlight these interlinkages. One of the means is obviously that we have had good cooperation with the CCD Secretariat, now formalized in the form of Memorandum of Understanding. And we are in the course of elaborating detailed plan of action on the MOU and look forward to having bigger discussion. Central to that, obviously, is how to make sure we catalyze more finance. So under the UNFF the scheme, we have Global Forest Financing Facilitation Network, GFFN, so-called. And this is one of the instruments that we can deploy to support the developing countries. And this is where we have a strong cooperation with FAO and another organization on the ground to make sure the enabling conditions, capacity building that GFFN provide will lead to something much larger and solid by working with many international organizations, the UN organization, who have a direct access to much larger scheme of financing, such as the GCF or GEF and another multilateral resources. And of course, those things hopefully lead to catalyzing private capitals as well, where that is going to be most relevant in some of those countries. So in conclusion, we are excited to be partnered with all those colleagues and organizations and looking forward to working together. And I hope that you'll be able to help us next 3 hours to get our final outcome documents done cleanly, that this chair is going to be able to table firmly, cleanly. I can see that over there, the lady over there that I know very well is smiling over there. And then I'm sure that she'll be able to help us to do that as well. So thank you very much for this, and look forward to working together.
Thank you so much, Mr. Takada, and really, especially for that eloquent plea to get the outcome of UNFF16 done. But I also wanted to say that I noted one of your comments at the beginning when you said forests are at the heart of sustainable development. And I was thinking in UNCCD, I would think land is at the heart of sustainable development. I also work with CBD. So for CBD, I would think biodiversity is at the heart of sustainable development, and we will put forward our arguments. But I think your point, and a point that the other panelists have made as well, is that these issues are so closely interlinked. We cannot advance on one without advancing on the other. I also take your point that not only do we need to work together to collaborate on this and not look at these issues in silos, but also that at the country level and regionally, we need to build capacity, we need to mobilize funding to help countries, and really to collaborate between all of us, whether it's UNCCD, UNFF, the FAO, and many other UN entities and agencies, especially at the country level, so that we can achieve all our goals. So the forest goals, the LDN targets, and others. And all of this will contribute to hopefully making progress on the SDGs that you referred to by the date of 2030. Colleagues, I note that we are actually doing very well on time. So since we've come to the end of the contributions of our panelists, and I see that we have a few minutes left, I wanted to open the floor for any comments or interventions or questions from the floor. Please feel free to share your national perspective. Maybe at your country level, you have important initiatives on land restoration, forest restoration, sustainable management of land and forests. And also, if you want to pose any questions to our very experienced and distinguished panelists, then this is your opportunity. So please just identify yourself and, please go ahead. I already see, I think, our very distinguished colleague from Iran. Please, sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, moderator. And it's good that you moderated this important side event. And then let me thank the mission of Kingdom of the Saudi Arabia for convening this important side event. And then thanks the all capable the panelists, and then for their insightful and then useful remarks that made. And then it's really remarkable for my country and for my delegation that the Saudi Arabia has such a kind of, I was familiar before, but it's good that hearing again with the initiative that is especially is important for our region. And then, Madam Moderator, I'm sure that you know that our West Asia is suffering from many environmental challenges. There is a long list of challenges before us, from desertification, deforestation, losing the biodiversity, and then sand and dust storm, and then a region that is vulnerable to the climate change as well. And this is the challenges, and then many other challenges that we are suffering from that one. And then our region nearly needs such a kind of initiative. And then Iran is also has its own initiative. I'm sure that our colleague from Saudi Arabia are familiar with our region, the national plans. And then other countries at the Persian Gulf region, they are doing same. Iraq, Syria, and then others has a lot of national initiative. But what is important is that one is using such a kind of momentum for cooperation, because this region deserves the further well-being and prosperity for the current generation and for future generations. And then we are very happy that our Kingdom of the Saudi Arabia has such a kind of ambitious initiative. We welcome that one. And then we are also waiting for the convening of the next COP, UNCCD COP, that the first ever COP that will be held in our region. I'm sure that such a kind of COP will be another momentum, especially for cooperation at the regional level. And then my country, Iran, is fully ready to fork with the Saudi Arabia and then other neighboring countries for combating with desertification, climate change, deforestation, losing biodiversity, and then many others. Again, I thank the mission of Saudi Arabia, and then with the support of the UNCCD. And then I would like to highlight by this message that we need full cooperation that's supported by UN, especially specialized agencies, especially UNFF, FAO, and then UNCCD. Many thanks.
Thank you so much for your remarks. I give the floor next to our colleagues seated. Yes, please. I'm sorry if I'm not able to identify you. Please identify yourself.
Thank you so much, Madam Coordinator, to give me the floor. This is Hassan from Iraq Mission. I would like at the outset to commend all the organizers for this very important side event. Actually, we are in the same region. We are sharing the same concerns regarding the side of the adverse impact of the climate change, in particular the water scarcity, sun and dust storms. We are commending in particular the initiatives released by Saudi Arabia, both initiatives, the SGI and MGI. In particular, the MGI we are looking for this initiative as a pioneer effort to combat adverse impact of climate change, in particular water scarcity and sand and dust storms in the region. The Saudi Arabia's commitment to hosting COP16 demonstrated its dedication to addressing the pressing environmental challenges facing the world and the region, and our region in particular, to foster international cooperation, knowledge sharing, and collective action to protect natural ecosystems. So thank you so much for organizing this very timely side event, and thank you so much again. Thank you.
Thank you for your intervention, and I really wanted to say that I thank both you and the speaker who who spoke before you for bringing up the important issue of sand and dust storms as well, because I think that was an important dimension, for our own discussion and deliberations on this issue. Sir, I would like to give you the floor. Please forgive me that I'm not able to identify you, but please identify yourself. Thank you.
Team has been very active in UNFF negotiations. Congratulations for creating that kind of team. They are very active, and I know that you are also very active at the field for many forestry issues. Congratulations. And as the chair of the bureau proposed to start a country-led initiative for dry lands, I believe that this is very, very important. So I strongly encourage you to work with UNFF. It will be very good for our region. And I also support the idea raised by Malgorzata about a working group on dryland forestry. It is based in Kofo, and I know it is very important for our region. I work for this working group many times. And also, I would like to congratulate you for hosting the next UNCCD conference. I was the coordinator of UNCCD COP held in Turkey in 2015. I know this conference is very, very important for our region, because when you talk about forestry issues, the majority think about dense forests. I mean, mainly from northern part of the world. But as the forest engineers, I believe that we have many important dryland area in our region, and these are also more important than northern forestry for livelihoods, for the people, for the planet. So again, thank you so much for coming here. It's a pleasure for me. Again, thank you for your host for organizing this side event, and my special congratulations to your team. They are really fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your intervention, and also highlighting dryland forestry and the importance of that. Sir, I would now like to give you the floor, and I apologize that I'm not able to identify you. Please identify yourself. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Coordinator. My name is Wissam. I'm from the Syrian Mission. I want to say that, first of all, we thank the Mission of Saudi Arabia and the UNCCD for organizing this side event. We recognize the importance of the Saudi Greening Initiative, and we highly praise it in Syria, because we think it's a pioneer project that has benefits that goes beyond the geographical borders of the kingdom. It benefits the whole region, the Middle East, which is very vulnerable to desertification, land degradation, sand and dust storms, and to adverse climate effects, either by human-made or nature-made. We need these initiatives more. And actually, I have a question, but I don't know if we will have the time for it. I wanted to hear about the status quo of the Middle East Greening Initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your question. If nobody else wants to, I see somewhere. Yes, please, sir. Over to you.
My name is Ildar. I'm Uzbekistan DPR. I'll be very short. So first of all, I would like to express our sincere appreciation to Saudi Arabia for organizing this event. We commend the experience of Saudi Arabia, which is very important for many countries and for my country in particular. We in Uzbekistan are facing the RLC crisis. We wish every success to Saudi Arabia in hosting COP16. Thank you.
Thank you for your intervention and for your remarks. I see, sir, do you wish to take the floor? Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Aday Abdul Hamid with the Mission of Palestine. I wish to thank the Brotherly Mission of Saudi Arabia for organizing today's meeting and to thank the panelists for the insightful discussion. Also to congratulate Saudi Arabia for hosting the upcoming conference, which happens to coincide with two important components. The first being the 30th anniversary of the convention, as well as being the first conference to take place in the Middle East and the Arab world. Given that the convention of the convention's 30th anniversary happens to coincide in the Arab region, I have a question regarding the measures that should be taken in the Arab world to address land and forest management, as well as to combat desertification, given that our region is known for immense challenges as well as immense opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your intervention and your question. Sir, I believe you wish to take the floor. Sir.
Hello? Can you hear me now? Okay. My name is Abdul Hamid Omar. I am the Director General for Landscape Restoration Activities in Nigeria. Nigeria, recall, has some peculiarities with the Saudi challenges as far as the northern part of the country is concerned because of Sahara Desert encroachment. I listened attentively to Dr. Kamal, and we are excited that we're here to listen to the experiences of Saudi Arabia. But here is, an FAO will attest to the fact that we signed a contract. I signed it on behalf of my government to provide technical assistance in landscape restoration of over 350,000 hectares. We're looking at that relationship. Now, my question has to do with sustainability and post-intervention and investment. In the video clips we watched, certainly these are virgin lands that communities are not located. We want to learn from Dr. Kamal the experiences of sustainability. How are the locals and the natives integrated in virgin desert areas are reclaimed? What is the government strategy of ensuring there is post-investment, or rather post those intervention that you're doing for sustainability to take place in those areas that are landscapes that are recovering for both forest survival and biodiversity in those locations? Thank you.
Thank you so much for your remarks and for your questions. I wonder if we have maybe just a couple of minutes to try to answer the questions. Dr. Khalid, I don't know if you wish to take the last question. I'm sorry, that was my alarm saying that time is over. But if you feel we have time, we can try to answer the questions. Otherwise, I can collect the questions and we can try to respond bilaterally, if that is all right. We can put all the information together. I know there were three very important questions. One about the Middle East Green Initiative, the other about what more we can do during the 30th anniversary of the UNCCD, to promote land and forest management in the Arab world, and of course on how locals are being integrated into these greening initiatives. So if we are agreed, colleagues, only because we're running out of time, and I'm afraid the engineers may push us out, we promise that we will try to get back to you bilaterally with all the information, and I hope the panelists agree. So let me then come to the concluding portion of our side event. And I would like to, in fact, invite Dr. Khalid to deliver the closing remarks.
Thank you very much for all the great speeches of the panelists. Really, I think all the audience have learned a lot of the experiences and also the effort that's been done around the world. I'm glad really to also to receive very good remarks from all the crowds, and for also your thoughts and your good remarks about the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia initiatives. And we would like really to welcome you in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in December for the COP16, and hopefully to see you there.
Thank you, Dr. Khalid, for your closing remarks. And I'd also like to thank all the panelists. I think we've lost some of them because of other commitments, but I'd like to thank each and every one of them, maybe some of them virtually, who have contributed, I think, to a very fruitful and insightful discussion today. So, Excellencies, colleagues, distinguished delegates, as you leave, I think I just wanted to make two comments. One, I wanted to echo what the distinguished colleague from Turkey mentioned, that I think the team that has put together this event, the Saudi team, I really want to pay a big tribute and acknowledge the amazing work that you've done. I was myself really touched by your energy, the enthusiasm, the ambition. I could, even in email exchanges or WhatsApp messages about the logistical details, I could feel how infectious, how eager you are to make this happen, and the ambition for COP16. So I really want to pay a tribute to the entire team for putting it together. And lastly, colleagues, this is to all of us who are seated here. I really want to thank all of you for being here, for listening, and for participating, and for your comments and very thoughtful, insightful remarks and questions. But as you leave, I am going to give you a task, and I hope you don't mind. Please mark UNCCD COP16 in your calendars. It is going to be held from 2nd to 13th of December. It will be a landmark event. I assure you, it's going to be a game changer in the way that the international community tackles land degradation, drought, forest management as well. I think it will accelerate green transitions globally. And I hope I will see each and every one of you in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. So thank you, and the meeting is adjourned.